Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We're so happy that you're here with us. We're those friends that you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility.
Hello, Springs in the Desert community. It is so good to be with you today. I'm Jillian, your host, and I'm here with team member Cassandra. How are you, Cassandra?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. It is so good to be here with you today. I always enjoy chatting with you. We always have lots of laughs and make little memories along the way. And today we are going to talk all about social media use. This is a desert reflection, and so it's just going to be a short little conversation about some of the pros and cons of social media and how to have a healthy relationship with it so that we're taking care of ourselves, keeping in mind that we have limitations and it's okay to recognize those. So, Cassandra, I have Instagram personally, and I know you do too. What does social media use look like for you? Do you like to write or take photos, or what's kind of your inspiration for your use of social media?
Well, on a personal level, because I also just happen to be the social media manager for Springs in the Desert.
No coincidence.
So I do find myself on Instagram all the time. So my social media story, okay, let's begin at the beginning.
Okay.
It begins with MySpace back in the 2000s. And then there comes Facebook, right? And now Instagram. So most of the time now, I find myself on Instagram. Instagram is where I personally run into issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, not so much for me anymore. It just, I don't know, with the passing of time, Facebook seems to be less attractive.
Yeah.
But there is really something about Instagram. And for me, I just, I like to take pictures. I don't post a whole ton. I do take breaks, periodically, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, that's where I find myself spending the most time out of social media. I mean, and we haven't even brought up LinkedIn. But anyway, Instagram is both my favorite and most problematic.
I'm guessing, I think it's fair to say that it was built that way and it's constantly updated to be that way. I find Facebook nice for sharing information or finding people. If I'm searching for something, it's kind of a nice personal search engine, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And Instagram seems to be catered to more interaction, more consumption, more options to spend more time on the app.
Right.
Which, is sometimes nice, other times can be a little problematic. I'm sure I got Instagram because everyone else was getting Instagram, peer pressure. And I had other social medias before that. But then I started using it more for a personal blog, if you will, and also documenting different things in my life that I didn't really have. We weren't into scrapbooking in my family. And so I would try to take a picture of something and then kind of write about my experience or something the Lord said to me in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, I've also had to take breaks. I can tell that I'm fatigued, not always before it happens. It's usually after.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that how do you take a break from social media? Do you, I know, apps can set limits or you could, delete the app from your phone, but what does that look like for you?
Right. And it is so important to kind of really consider, honestly, what kind of limits are going to work for you.
Right.
Because a lot of this is holding yourself accountable. And I did used to do app limits, but I noticed that time spent on Messenger actually was like counting. So it was terrible because then I would just ignore, because at the time I was living overseas and Messenger was my main way of like texting.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I get my 15 minutes, I was just talking to my sisters. So it totally didn't help, but I should try it again. But anyway, I take a couple days off a week from my personal. I try to.
Okay.
And then Lent generally. And I should really do Advent as well. But I would just say, and maybe I should bump it up to 3, because right now I do kind of like the sorrowful mystery days. So I do Tuesday, Friday, because that's how I'll remember.
Sure.
I think it would be really nice to do Sunday too, because something I find is that I feel like we reach for our phones And social media in particular, when we're feeling upset or anxious or just want to distract ourselves, and it seems to work, but I think really it just agitates and upsets us more
Yes.
in
I
different ways.
I so agree. And I've definitely found that I sometimes am not attuned to how those kind of emotional effects are affecting all other areas of my life,
Right.
where maybe I'm maybe a little bit lazy, and I'm not doing as much as I could to serve my husband and take care of our home, or I'm not reaching out to friends, or it exacerbates this idea of loneliness. Even, I'm seeing other people and I can't be with them, or I couldn't participate, or I wasn't invited. Just the evil one really can seep into those thoughts. I think that idea of accountability is important that you're talking about.
Yes.
It's so easy to just hit that ignore limit button. And
Mhm.
I don't know if I should look into this. Maybe you can set a code to access that. I know there's some features, at least with iPhone, that you can have a code. And my husband and I occasionally will set a code for each other so that if we need access to something,
Oh, that's a good idea.
that has really been helpful for me. That Jesse knows. I mean, maybe he doesn't even know the code anymore because and so I just can't access certain things after a certain time, or I have a morning and a night time. So at a certain time at the night, like all my apps shut off. And then they don't open again until the
Yep.
morning, and then I can only use them for a certain number of hours. But the deleting of the app often helps me too.
Yes, that's a huge part of the reason why I don't really use Facebook anymore. Because I got rid of the app. I don't even remember why I did it, but it's gone. And I don't think I'm logged in on my phone either. So it's like I can't access it.
That too, not saving passwords is also a big help, because
Mm,
I find that sometimes the annoyance of having to remember my password is enough to get me to say, it's not important enough. I don't need to log on to this, or just to say, why am I doing this?
right.
And then I can kind of evaluate
Yeah.
the situation. But at the same time, that answer to that question, why, can be positive. As you are a social media manager, we use social media all the time as Springs in the Desert to communicate. And it's a great way, I think, to walk with people and to share your heart. And it's a great way to be fruitful too, to, as you said, to take photos. If you like to take photos, photography is a huge blooming way to be fruitful, and to write and to stay in touch with people, to be creative, to sell things. It's I think a great tool in that way too.
Yeah, it's great because I feel like there's, on Catholic Instagram, and you see people talking about traditions that in recent years have kind of fallen out of vogue, but are now people are rediscovering them. So I think that's really great. You see saints'
Mhm.
days that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise known about. These kinds of things are really beautiful. And it is beautiful to
Right.
be able to connect and share. But it is also important to kind of take personal stock of our social media use when we're dealing with infertility and pregnancy loss, because there are also those temptations to comparison and jealousy. And we all recognize that Instagram is, not real life. But when you're scrolling and it's like friends and their kids, friends and their kids, friends and their kids, and it's like pregnancy announcement, and especially around these kind of holidays and Mother's Day, and thanks to the child who made me a mother, and it's just like,
Yes.
okay. And that's when you got to hit
Mm.
that mute button.
Use those. Yeah, it's okay to say, I need to set a
Yeah.
boundary for myself to be healthy and happy and holy.
Mhm.
That is just fine. Yeah, because we can share information. I also learned, there's a lot of accounts I follow that I learn from, that they teach about, maybe it's government, or maybe it's science or something. They share really great information. But yeah, I have
Mhm.
to use some of those buttons. Maybe I've got to unfollow for a bit. Maybe I've got to mute. Maybe I've got to, as you said, set a limit or delete the app, and that can help, especially around those days that you were mentioning. sometimes holidays are tricky, or
Right.
Mother's and Father's Day, or maybe it's just around an anniversary that you have. There's dates that can be difficult to communicate with and to consume on. And so I love that, to just take stock. How much time are you spending on there? And what changes do you need to make so that you are set up for success and happiness, and that social media doesn't control you. You control your social media use.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, listeners, we are so, so happy to have you here. And we hope that this conversation was encouraging and maybe gave you a couple ideas about how to set some limits on social media, or maybe even some ways to be fruitful using your social media. It's an honor to have you here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. If you have a minute, please rate and review us so that we can reach more listeners. Check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter and hear about more things that we have going on. Most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.